This anime opens by showing a boy who is looking for someone. Not long after that, a woman was pointing a gun at someone. The victim's name was Asaka, and the boy's name was Yogiri. Then when the woman threatened to kill Asaka, she suddenly fell and immediately fainted at that place. Yogiri immediately hugged Asaka and invited him to go home. Then the scene changes. We show a woman waking a man. The man who was being woken up asked whether the person who woke him up was named Asaka. But apparently, the woman's name was Denora. At that time, Denora was annoyed because Yogiri called her name wrong. Then Denora at that time pointed to the place where other students had been slaughtered because there was a very ferocious monster attack destroying their bus. However, Yogiri's attitude looked indifferent. Then he took a mic and threw it at the monster. The wayphone monster was hit by a throw from Yogiri until it was knocked out. The monster then approached the two of them and opened its mouth, which was filled with fire. Denora, who was frightened, immediately hugged Yogiri's body. But suddenly the monster fell. After hearing Yogiri's words, the monster was suddenly killed on the spot. Denora, who woke up, was confused about what had actually happened. But Yogiri instead took out his smartphone and played games at that time. Denora, who saw this, was angry. Why was she able to play games when this incident occurred? Because of that, Yogiri immediately closed his cell phone and asked what really happened. Denora then explained everything to Yogiri. At that time, they were taking part in a tourist activity, and when their bus passed through a tunnel, they arrived in the isekai world. In the midst of the confusion, a woman appeared named Shion. She was a sage. Seeing this, their annoyed teacher immediately stood up and tried to stop the woman. But surprisingly, she immediately used her magic and made the teacher immediately faint. Shion turned out to be a very sadistic figure. In fact, to show her strengths, Shion even killed a bus driver at that place. Then Shion explained that they were all called to the isekai to become sage candidates because this world is ruled by sages. Shion then stretched out her hand and pointed her hand at all the students on the bus, which made most of the students emit light, but not all of them emitted light. Shion explains that he has implemented a system called Battle Song. For students who believe, they can see a tab that is in front of their eyes. They are then given 1 month to become stronger and become a sage. When Denora asked why she didn't have a status tab like the others, Shion answered that some people just weren't talented at being sages in this world. Shion then asked Denora to just give up. Shion even said that those who couldn't become sages would become fuel for themselves. The first mission they will carry out is only 1 hour away, and Shion says don't be defeated. After telling them all, Shion immediately disappeared. When Shion left, a student named Suguru Yazaki said to the other students, they had no choice but to defeat the wayphone monster, which would appear in 1 hour, and provide status information from the other students. At that time, Yogiri was called by his friend Takato. Then Suguru asked students who did not have status not to follow them because they would only be a burden to their other colleagues, and they would be used as sacrifices to save other students. In other words, the other students would leave the 4 of them. Even Denora, who heard this, was very surprised, because her best friend, Makochi, also agreed with Suguru's strategy. At that time, a wyvern appeared right after their friends had left that place, and then attacked 2 of Denora's colleagues when they were slaughtered there. Yogiri then thought about how to charge the battery in another world, which made Denora feel annoyed, because Yogiri was still thinking about the game. After they got out of the bus, they then saw 3 students flying towards them. Surprisingly, Denora was able to see him even though he was still too far away. Casually, Yogiri said, how about we just kill the 3 of them? After all, they have all abandoned us, which means they are the same as making us sacrifices to be thrown away. It was discovered that their purpose in coming was to turn the remaining students into zombies, and Denora said that she understood why their friends had left us. Higashida immediately threw a fireball and blew up the mountain to scare Yogiri and Denora.
手間が省けたな。友近さん以外をゾンビ化してやりたい。てかさ、生きてる可能性はあんの浦さん。それぐらいにしとけよ。
仲良くできないってこと。
ファイヤーボール。東田殿しか使えないから。ネクロマンサーからのなったら好き放題や。
At that time, they also threatened Denora to become theirs. Yogiri then pointed at Higashida and said, die. At first, they laughed at those words, thinking that Yogiri was afraid of them and couldn't say anything else. But suddenly, surprisingly, Hayashida died instantly at that place. Yogiri told him that he died because of his order. So when Yogiri orders someone to die, then that person will definitely die. And at that time, Yogiri asked them to obey his words. But when one of the students moved, Yogiri ordered that student to die and left one student alone. Yogiri then said that this was his power, and the people in that place were definitely dead. Hayashida's friends tried to heal them, but unfortunately, the healing magic failed. Yogiri then said that his ability was to kill instantly, and if Yogiri thought of someone to kill, then that person would definitely die immediately. Even when he wanted to kill Yogiri, he could tell their intentions even though he still pretended to be kind. This made him very afraid. Yogiri then asked why they were always arrogant, just because they were given the power of this gift. He then explained everything to Yogiri, because in fact it was not their first time coming to another world, so they had actually been tasked with defeating the Demon King. Even though the time in the other world is long, the time in the real world only takes a few hours. He then begged for forgiveness so that his life would be saved. Denora, who saw this, also did not feel sorry. At that time, Hayashida's friend took out a necklace-shaped object, which could make him an obedient servant. He immediately put on the necklace and made them his masters. When Denora asked him to move away, the necklace suddenly strangled him. He then told Denora that Denora could give the position of master to someone else. Denora immediately handed over the position to Yogiri. Then Yogiri said that he would not kill him. Hearing this, he felt happy because Yogiri didn't kill him. But at that time, Yogiri pointed to the forest and saw many monsters in that place. Yogiri asked him to wait there. Even though he wanted to refuse the order, because of the necklace, he couldn't refuse at all. Then Yogiri also asked to leave his valuables behind and told him to cover up the secret about the two of them. Denora then asked Yogiri if this was her choice. Yogiri answered that they didn't know when she would betray them both. So Yogiri decided to leave her. Seeing Yogiri, who was still protecting Denora, at that moment Denora became embarrassed, even though in fact they had never spoken alone. Then Denora asked why he was still protecting her, but Yogiri didn't know what to answer. Denora said there must be a reason if Yogiri would definitely leave her without having to protect herself. Yogiri, who heard this, began to think that those were the right words, but because Yogiri had no reason. He started thinking because when the monster attacked, Denora hugged him. For that reason, Yogiri wants to protect Denora in the future. Tears, because of Yogiri's words, Denora's face immediately turned red with embarrassment.
私はどうなの？守ろうと思ったのはというのもなんだけどさ。なんかあるでしょ。何か心当たりが。守ろうと思ったのは。ここまでして守ろうと。なんでだろうね。私のことが気になってて。何か。壇ノ浦さんに抱きつかれ。おっぱいが柔らかかったから。
The scene moves to a royal castle, where Shion is seen hugging her doll. Then he was visited by someone named Yoichi. He gave a report to Shion about the sage candidate. At that time, Shion was confused about why the wyvern dragon suddenly died like that. Yoichi explained that 4 people died in the incident, and Shion assumed that they were the people who had been sacrificed. However, Yoichi said that among the 4 people, 2 of them were power owners. Shion, who heard that, was shocked about the 2 people who had the power, and what was worse was that they died without any warning. For that reason, Yoichi felt certain that the cause of all this was the instant date. But at that time, Shion handed the case over to Yoichi because he didn't want to worry about it. And finally, episode 1 ends here. Thank you so much for staying in this channel and watching our videos. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel so we can keep you updated with our latest contents. See you in the next video.